is the Canadian Forces Peacekeeping Service Medal.
Major Mark Campbell lost both legs in Afghanistan in 2008. He's just days from becoming a veteran, but it's something he's dreading.
These injuries I acquired in the service of Canada. That was my sacrifice. To come home and find out that my country doesn't have my back to the degree that I was told it would have was hurtful, very hurtful.
Almost everyone in this crowd will tell you a heartbreaking story. Veterans who say they've been victimized by red tape, neglect, and a nickel-and-dime mentality at Veterans Affairs. Retired Colonel Pat Stogren tried to change things as Veterans Ombudsman. His reward, the door.
What we need now, and I will not rest until we do this, is a Royal Commission into Veteran Affairs, and we need a revolution in the democratic affairs of this government.
Veterans have been crying out about their treatment for years, but social media has transformed the way they connect, share stories, and compare notes, intensifying the pressure on the government.
Their tactics have grown bolder. Veterans Affairs Minister Julian Fantino publicly confronted twice this year. Jennifer Mingo chased him down a hallway last week. Her husband's PTSD has torn the family apart.
I feel forgotten here, let me tell you.
A committee report just made 14 recommendations on how to reform the new Veterans Charter, which, among other things, changed the compensation from lifetime payouts to lump sums. Outside Parliament, Mark Campbell estimates his family income will be slashed by $10,000 a year.
And even if they were a promise by the Government of Canada to do change, you can't eat a promise. So at the end of the day, where are the effects? Where are the results? That's what we're looking for.
Veterans vow to keep up the pressure. They have a permit to rally until June 19th.
Hi there, I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
And the camera's slowly going up. Hang on. Okay, back up. That's funny. Hi there, I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
You're tuned in to Video Radio in our second part, taking a look at the cons in action who are actually dropping the major ball.
That's right. They're not holding up their end for the veterans and people who we have to put their lives on the line for our security.
And of course, I think that they deserve way more respect than that. Make sure you stand your grounds for the vets against Harper. Stop Harper Day is coming up. Right here, though, we're looking at CSIS.
Apparently, they've been caught with their fingers in the cookie jar.
Say it's not so.
Yeah, and of course, you know, our Justice Minister says, don't worry about that. Well, it's all lawfully done.
Let's worry about that. Check this out.
If you're concerned about the government snooping on you in the name of national security, Defense Minister Rob Nicholson says you have nothing to worry about.
I think the system works well.
But an onslaught of stories saying otherwise has Canadians concerned about their privacy and asking what can be done. CSIS, the federal government's electronic spy agency, has been under a spotlight.
The latest revelation, citing cyber defense efforts, CSIS sometimes keeps personal information of Canadians who use federal computer networks for up to 30 years.
Past revelations include CSIS tracking travelers through airport Wi-Fi and the agency's former head shutting down a counter-espionage campaign for being too aggressive. Security expert Wesley Wark says the revelations have had a cumulative effect on Canadians.
They're concerned about an overweening government that seems to have a lot of surveillance powers that are being used in the dark.
It is often forgotten.
That issue is being looked at by the government. The Senate is asking whether there needs to be parliamentary oversight of CSIS. Testifying in front of committee, Canada's Privacy Commissioner Chantal Bernier said the agency should file annual reports about what it does and why it does it. It doesn't look like the government can be convinced. Nicholson insists the current checks on CSIS are enough.
And this is the group that is trying to protect Canada from international terrorists, cyber hackers, and kidnappers.
But that doesn't mean Canadians will stop asking how much of their privacy they have to give up for that to happen.
Oh man!
Well, at least now they have to get a warrant in order to violate your privacy.
Yes, of course. It's really hard to get a warrant to violate your privacy. You know, honestly, we really need warrants and public warrants too. You know, we don't need just judges doing that. We need a return to the jury system. That will be coming up as we take a look at freeloaders this fall in a new documentary right here at Radio Free Canada. It's only about a year in the making. We're also going to be covering the National Post. This was the National Post this morning. and it's talking about privatization of the medical system. Trying to say that it's a good thing or a bad thing, make sure you pick up a copy and check out their arguments today.
However, the Harper-appointed Supreme Court seems to be kind of turning around and biting the hand that feeds it.
I love the fact we get to tell the truth here. Check this out. This is very cool stuff.
Just as tensions between the Harper government and Supreme Court were simmering down, a shot across the bow from the bench. A unanimous ruling. Warrantless access violates the rights of Canadians.
There are huge implications here for Canada's large internet providers. We know they disclose subscriber information thousands and thousands of times every week.
The ruling raises serious concerns about two government bills seeking to expand warrantless access. The cyberbullying bill lumps it together with tougher laws around sharing sexual images. For months, the Tories have ignored pleas to split the bill in half to avoid delays. From their own privacy commissioner to people like Carol Todd, whose daughter Amanda died by suicide after years of online torment.
We could definitely be saving kids quicker. But now that there's this other part of this argument up, it's just holding everything up.
Are they going to continue to bang their head against the Supreme Court, or are they going to respect the constitutional rights of Canadians?
In a statement, the Justice Minister said, "We've been clear all along. Any disclosure of information will be done in accordance with the law. The decision has clarified the law in this area." He says the government is reviewing the ruling and will respect it. Privacy advocates say there's only one way to do that.
And it forces not only revision of this particular legislation, but any future legislation that may come down the pipe. So essentially what this does is this stops the momentum toward erosion of privacy.
There's no indication the Tories will back down, but the highest court in the land has ensured the fight will only intensify if they don't.
So you gotta love it. You gotta love it when our courts do the right thing.
Yeah, when the courts do the right thing, that's an awesome thing. Of course, they're in front of the mainstream media. The Supreme Court cannot run and hide when it makes a bad decision.
No, in spite of the fact that they may be getting marching orders from the PMO.
Yes, and, well, actually, no, they told the PMO a couple times now, right?
Yeah, they told them off in the Senate thing, too.
Yeah, so make sure you do your research on that. Could we be seeing cracks in the fascist seams? I'm kind of hoping so, and we're going to keep you informed on that.
Oh, glimmerings of democracy. My goodness.
Activism is working. Fascism is losing. So don't forget that fact. And we've got one coming up here on July the 1st where we ran into the Mountain Man.
That's right. Talking about the largest Stop Harper, Save Canada banner that we can actually create.
Check this out.
Oh, wow. Okay, just tell me when.
Okay, go.
We're going? All right. Okay, my name's Hippie. I'm a member of the National Stop Harper campaign, and if any of you are fighting the pipeline, you're already a member. This Canada Day, we're dubbing it Save Canada Day. Basically, we have a challenge for you, and we want you to accept it. What we want you to do is make the biggest Save Canada Stop Harper banner and drop it on Canada Day. The biggest, you don't get a prize, you just get bragging rights. Go to the National Stop Harper campaign page on Facebook and post your pictures. Thank you very much, and see you on Save Canada Day. Right on.
Right.
So do you stop Harper?
We have to stop Harper.
We must stop Harper. Remember, if you're a conservative out there, these are not conservative people. That's so cool. Right on. These are not conservatives. They are neo-conservatives, okay? They're not doing the job. We are. I am Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
We are your independent media, 100% propaganda-free, and here to talk about the things that major media is scared to death to talk about.
Because, you know, they're losing their ratings, and, you know, they don't want to lose their sponsorship from people like Big Oil, Big Pharma, and Big Defense.
Wait, did we just point out the fact they're losing their ratings?
Well, you know, the polls don't lie.
So make sure you keep, look, make sure you keep your cameras handy, keep fresh memory cards, keep those batteries up to date, and make sure you get out on the streets, because activism is winning.
And don't forget to get out there and celebrate Canada Day and try to do it not in a non-corporate fashion.
Yes, indeed. Stop the consumerism and stay tuned. We'll be right back after this lack of commercial messages.
Where the ivy will not elamaya up in his skin tail feathers, mullen eric blood reservatas yosamis, Yamonagnola Olgihto, Musqueam, Squamish, Yaslava Tooth Olmudi. Hi, I'm Elamaya up in his skin tail feathers. I'm sitting here with a group of community individuals who are standing in solidarity with the over 130 First Nations who have rejected the Enbridge Northern Gateway pipeline, along with the over 2/3 of British Columbians who have also said no to the Northern Gateway pipeline project. We are peacefully occupying Minister James Moore's office until Minister Moore and Stephen Harper agree to reject the Enbridge, or rescind their decision and reject the Enbridge Northern Gateway pipeline project.
Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Anton Warrenchuk in Baltimore. The Canadian government, led by Prime Minister Stephen Harper, has approved the Enbridge Northern Gateway pipeline. Highly controversial, the $6.5 billion pipeline will carry diluted bitumen from Alberta's tar sands 1,200 kilometers across the provinces of Alberta and British Columbia, cutting through the Great Bear Rainforest, the largest intact coastal temperate rainforest in the world, to the northwest coast, where the oil would be shipped overseas to Asia on oil tankers. Now joining us to discuss this issue and the Canadian government's decision is Chief Namux, who is the Beaver Clan hereditary chief of the Wet'suwet'en First Nations. Thanks for joining us, Chief Namux.
Thank you very much.
So Stephen Harper's government has approved the Enbridge Northern Gateway pipeline. Can you talk about the legal issues around the pipeline in terms of First Nations rights and treaties that the Canadian government has made in the past?
Well, first it must be realized that as Wet'suwet'en, we have 22,000 square kilometers of unceded, non-treaty, undefeated lands, and the authority on the land still belongs to the hereditary chiefs, the house groups, and the clans of the Wet'suwet'en. We've never ceded nor surrendered any of our authority on our lands to a provincial or federal government.
Can you explain what that means, untreated lands, and the legal status of that?
It's non-treaty. West of the Rocky Mountains, there are less treaties on this side of the Rocky Mountains than there is on the eastern side. And the Wet'suwet'en, we've never signed a treaty. So in essence, we've never given away our authority on any portion of our land, water, or the air.
So let's also talk about some of the environmental issues surrounding the pipeline. A report from the National Energy Board and the Canadian Environmental Assessment Agency in December recommended the Northern Gateway's approval, and they also said that a special envoy on energy affairs had consulted widely with First Nation communities. What's your reaction to that, and what possible environmental impact do you foresee if the Northern Gateway does go ahead?
Well, I think first off, it should be pointed out that an industry such as an oil and gas industry actually calls this the Enbridge approach. And in that approach, they basically was a lack of consultation. Like for the Wet'suwet'en, there has to be free, prior, and informed consent before any proposed projects come on our territory. And that has never been given. When they say they had consultation, it was at a very light measure to what the consultation should be to the Wet'suwet'en. For the environmental risks that we are proposed for our area, it's absolutely inconceivable the route that they chose. It was along our major river system where our salmon are, our spawning beds. The habitat is so critical to the Wet'suwet'en, our fish, our water, our animals, our plant life. The proposed route actually splits the entirety of the Wet'suwet'en territory right in half. And the impacts to our rivers, there is nothing that we would have impact our rivers. When they have oil condensate proposed to go through this, which would absolutely devastate our main rivers. Wet'suwet'en, we said no from day one. That is not the route that you will take, and we will not support this. So regardless of it, whether it's a provincial or a federal government that supports it, the Wet'suwet'en and 2/3 of British Columbians do not support it.